Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
KHJ Los Angeles.
Portions of the day's programming are reproduced by means of electrical transcriptions or tape recordings.
Less tense than the Washington Nationals dugout. This is 87 Sports Fans Live. It's Monday night, kids. It's time to talk sports with us. I'm Keith Grieve from 87sportsfans.com, and as always, I'm
from the great unknown.
I didn't get a chance to properly introduce you, but hey, that's okay.
If you properly introduced me the way that you just started the show, I would want to listen to another.
Why?
Show
I thought that was a good one-line opener there.
It was a one-line opener. I'll give you that.
Come on, I've had worse.
Okay. That's the truth right there.
My personal favorite was the one I used to open the mock draft, and I said that we were using better judgment than Shane Ray because he had just gotten arrested days before the draft. That was
typical, to say the least.
That was my personal favorite. But hey, what's going on? Welcome to the program, folks. The phone number, if you want to call in, 585-633-7487. That's 585-633-7487. So, yeah, if you're watching Monday Night Football, you're probably not listening to this because you probably went to sleep. I mean, the Chiefs. I don't want to hear anybody talk about the Chiefs anymore.
Who the hell are the Chefs?
Exactly. Who the hell are they? Aaron Rodgers with 3 touchdown passes tonight, and Alex Smith for the Chiefs with 2 completions so far. It's halftime. 2 of 7 for 39 yards. That right there is Jimmy Clausen territory. Let me just tell you.
Wow.
And, not for nothing, Green Bay's defense is not that good. I'm sorry. They're not.
No, they're better than last year, though.
Yeah, but better than bad doesn't necessarily make good. They don't have a secondary. I'll stand by that. They don't defend the run very well at all. And Kansas City can do nothing. 12 carries for 57 yards on the run and a touchdown scamper by Jamal Charles. But that's it. Travis Kelce and Jamal Charles have each caught 1 ball. Kelce for 38 yards. And that is it. Jamal Charles for 1 yard. It's ridiculous.
Do you remember, after week 1, it wasn't a big win, but their win over Houston, everyone was like, looks like they're going to be good this year. Yeah.
No.
Last week they don't show much against Denver, and then this week they're just getting. Now, mind you, everyone is picking maybe not everyone, but most experts are picking Green Bay to make it to the Super Bowl in the NFC this year, but holy cow, they're just shellacking them.
Aaron Rodgers is good enough that he doesn't need a defense to make it to the Super Bowl. Like usually, I shy away from the team with not a good defense, and I believe by the time this season shakes out, everyone will understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But
it's not just the defense. I think he's in Tom Brady category for A, he doesn't need a defense, and B, he can work with what he has. I mean, everyone said after losing Jordy Nelson that the Packers were going to be in trouble, but obviously that's not the case.
The dude resurrected James Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
How bad do the Giants feel in cutting him?
And look, I'm a Bears fan. You're a Bears fan. I hate the Packers, okay? There is a part of me that hates Aaron Rodgers, but you have to understand he's the best in the game right now. I'm sorry. He's better than Peyton Manning. He's better than Tom Brady. He is the best in the game right now.
Oh, absolutely. I think arguably he's been the best in the game for the last few years. Yeah. Because he has the Brady Manning accuracy, but he also has mobility that neither one of those two have. Which I think makes him extra dangerous, because his accuracy is scary. He has Tom Brady accuracy. I mean, now I think you can, after watching the game last night, take Manning out of the conversation because, I mean, it's hard to believe that he's less than a year older than Tom Brady because he looks like he's 80.
Yeah.
And right now, it's a two-man race in the quarterback category, and it's Rodgers and Brady. And I mean, if you look at all the quarterbacks in the league this year, who else is really standing out as being elite?
Nobody? How about nobody? How about Arizona?
But even that, I mean, even Palmer, he's having a really good year. I wouldn't say he's having a spectacular year.
Oh, if he's healthy, no.
Put Derek Carr in there, he's having a really good year. But as far as just that top echelon, there's only two guys right now.
Yeah, no, I'll give you that. It's hard. It's hard to.
They both got double-digit touchdowns. Well, I think Rodgers now has 8, I believe. But Brady's got double-digit touchdowns. Neither of them have an interception. They both have a crazy amount of yards. And after tonight, they'll both be 3-0. I mean, it looks like these two teams, it will take some serious injuries to keep them from meeting in the Super Bowl. That's the way it's looking right now after 3 games.
It's weird though because you look at numbers and I know this is not all tell-all, but I would have thought that he would have been higher. Maybe it's because it's never mind. I'm not going to talk stats because none of Aaron Rodgers' stats are updated because he's playing right now, so it doesn't matter. But even if he throws for 300 yards tonight, let's say he throws for 325 for fun and giggles here, that'll put him at about 550, which still is not going to. It's going to put him. That will put him with less passing yards for the season than Ryan Mallett. But it's the way that he does it. He's just effective. He just goes out and just.
I thought he had 300 yards on the season.
No. I'm talking about if he throws for 300 yards tonight, which he's got 220 at the half, so he could probably exceed that.
Oh, I got you.
But like looking at yards thrown for the season, I'm sorry, I guess I didn't couch that statistic right. Looking at for passing yards for the season, he's at 438 going into tonight.
Yeah.
But he's completed 76.8% of his passes.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, now mind you, I mean, they played week 1 against Seattle, who hasn't looked good this year, and they beat them pretty good. They played week 2 against Chicago they played week 1 against Chicago.
Correct.
And obviously Chicago is the Jacksonville Jaguars of this season. So it's the bye week team for everybody. They're going to get that automatic win. It's like playing taco in the league. They know they're going to get that win. And then they played Seattle and just destroyed them. They played Seattle last week, right?
Who, the Bears?
No, the Packers.
Oh, the Packers, yes, last week.
Yeah, and they beat them pretty good. But once again, Seattle doesn't look spectacular right now. And then this week, I mean, after, like I said, after last week, Kansas City, it looks like they got some serious issues. They still haven't thrown a touchdown to a wide receiver yet, have they? Since last season, which they didn't do it last season. I don't believe this year so far they've thrown it to a wide receiver yet either.
I don't think so either.
So to think that you've played 20 games? Yeah, 19, 20 games as an NFL team, and you haven't thrown a touchdown to a wide receiver is just mind-blowing to me.
It's surprising with Andy Reid.
It is. It really is. And, the way it's looking this year, if they continue, then it's goodbye Alex Smith. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do instead of him, but you got to think maybe 2 years ago when they showed all the promise, that was a fluke.
Yeah, I don't know. I look at what's happened to Dwayne Bowe and how he's like basically out of the league right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so then what did you go out and throw that money at Jeremy Maclin for?
I don't know.
The NFL is a fickle place, and nobody really stands out from anybody right now except for like the gifted few. So you look at the teams right now. Who would you say if you had to bet right now we're going to the Super Bowl that had a legitimate shot? I'd say the Cardinals in the NFC.
Now, are we taking the Patriots and Green Bay out of this? Let's take them out of this equation because right now they are obviously the top 2 teams in the league.
All right, so besides the Packers and the Patriots,
take them out of the way.
The Cardinals?
Cardinals, yes, they are playing very well and they're pretty balanced.
The Seahawks, just because of their
Cincinnati.
defense. Stick with the NFC right now.
Okay.
The Seahawks. I would go there. I would go there. They've been playing well. Atlanta.
Let me look here. Prior to the injury to Romo, I would say Dallas, but I don't think they're going to sustain.
It'll be interesting.
Yesterday's collapse, I think, proved that.
Between Romo and Des Bryant, I think that's too much to lose.
Yeah. No, I'd say Arizona and Atlanta are probably the only two out of the NFC that I think have a legitimate shot. The only dark horse I could see, and once again, I only say this because they usually play bad and they find a way to win a Super Bowl, is the Giants. Because they have talent, and at times they look like a solid team, but then they blow it. Like right now, they should be 3-0. They blew the first two games. They won those games, and they gave it up. So to me, I think the Giants are like my dark horse.
I'd also say Seattle just because of their defense, but that offensive line is atrocious. They're not going to go anywhere in the playoffs if they don't fix that.
And I think people are starting to learn how to play against them. You know what I mean? You take out this game against Chicago just because Chicago was so bad. But even their defense held, Seattle to 3 points in the first half. So I think teams are figuring out how to not only play their offense, but how to score on their defense. And I don't know if Seattle has jumped, they missed their opportunity by going 2 years in a row. But I don't know if I would necessarily – I mean, they would definitely be in that Giants category of being a dark horse, but I think Arizona's the better team in that division.
Well, let's use the Bears as a measuring stick for the Seahawks, okay? Because the Bears played Green Bay week 1, okay? They played Green Bay tough for a half, 3/4 of a half, or 3/4 of a game. Then they played Arizona, and Arizona owned them. Yeah, I know Cutler got hurt, so you press the backup in with no reps and blah, 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 whatever. But then they go to Seattle. Seattle's home opener, the triumphant return of Cam Chancellor. That team was vibing. It was jumping. The place was loud as usual, and they could not muster anything against a Bears defense that up until yesterday hadn't recorded a single sack.
Yeah.
But yet they got to Russell Wilson 4 times. And hit him 10 more. That is finally a team with a worse offensive line than the Bears, ironically.
Exactly. And you can't judge their defense on that game either.
No,
defense, because the Bears' offense is non-existent. So
it was a gimme.
To shut them out is not a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, it was an absolute gimme.
Yeah.
All right. So what about the AFC besides the Patriots?
Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I think Cincinnati definitely has, once again, they could pull a typical Cincinnati and play really well in the regular season and then blow it in the postseason. But I think they have a shot. Let me look here. Pittsburgh, depending on what happens with Vic over these next, 5-6 weeks until Roethlisberger comes back.
But they'll still make the playoffs, though, and Roethlisberger will be healthy by then.
Yeah, so you got to put them in it because their offense, especially the way he's playing, if he comes back 100%, Pittsburgh's definitely in that mix. Buffalo, I think they're only going to get better. I think Tyron Taylor is just a wonderful talent and a great young player, and I think they're just going to improve as the season goes along. And then my dark horse would be Oakland.
See, the one knock I have against the Bills is that they got decimated by the Patriots. That game, that score was closer than that game really was.
It was, but I think that the fact that they were in a position to actually tie the game at the end is going to give them confidence the next time they play the Patriots.
And I want to see Tyrod Taylor after teams have gotten a good amount of film on the Bills' offense. And the film starts to catch up to him, see if he can stay ahead of the curve. He's playing fantastic right now. I'm not taking anything away from what he's done so far.
And a big thing is, you're seeing the resurgence of Percy Harvin on this team. You're seeing LaShawn McCoy, he's taken a little bit of time to warm up, but yesterday he played really well. And I think he's just going to also improve as the season goes along. So they got a lot of weapons, and their defense is still fantastic. I know they got shredded by Brady last week, but once again, I think that was a fluke. I think last week they just kind of got psyched out, and they fell victim to what the Jets had to deal with when their coach, being Rex Ryan, would talk up a good game and then kind of get overly confident is kind of what it looked like to me.
Adam Schefter is reporting today that the Bills could decide to rest LaShawn McCoy until the hamstring is healthy. So
that might not be a bad idea.
But that rookie, Carlos Williams.
They're playing next week. Let me look at their schedule real quick.
Carlos Williams looks fantastic.
Let's see here.
For week 4, it's Buffalo. The Giants come to Buffalo.
See, yeah, I think they could rest them against the Giants and still have a decent shot.
It's funny because they show on ESPN.com, they show how StubHub shows how many tickets are available, and there are 7,885 tickets still available for next week's Washington Redskins game against the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's crazy.
In Washington.
That's crazy.
Support your team, damn it. There's 7,200 tickets available for the Chargers game. That's fantastic.
You know what's weird, though? And I was just thinking of this. I just gave you my AFC, who I thought could make it to the Super Bowl. And when this season started, I never thought I would not say Indianapolis.
They got to figure it out. And it's still early. They may come around, but there's an offensive line issues there. There's defense issues there. I don't think they're not a Super Bowl contending team.
Well, that's the thing, and that's why I think they need some serious shaking up in either the coaching or the general manager position, because their biggest fallback or drawback the last 2 seasons have been their offensive line and their defense. And the fact that it hasn't improved says something. It's like you're obviously not doing something right. And then you go out and you get 2 90-year-old former greats in Andre Johnson and Frank Gore, and it just didn't make too much sense. They had a good young team, and then they didn't really do anything to improve. So,
looking at the AFC teams, I agree with you about the Bengals. I agree with you about the Steelers. I don't think the Raiders are there yet. I don't think you call them a Super Bowl team. Like I said, I want to see the Bills play some really good teams down the road, see what happens. They look really good against Miami. I'm off the Miami bandwagon. There's no way
they're just a train wreck.
Your biggest division rival comes into your stadium and you play like that. Like, they should just fire Joe Philbin, because there's no way that he has any control of that team. No way. Zero. Zip. Zilch. Nothing. And I won't count the Broncos out completely just because they have a really good defense, and Peyton Manning is Peyton Manning. But by December, he won't be able to throw the ball by December. So.
Peyton Manning looked awful. Yeah, I mean, a lot. He had 2-3 touchdowns, but if you watch a lot of his throws, his wide receivers made amazing catches to bail him out of terrible throws. And I hate watching it. It's like watching Dan Marino at the end of his career, where you're like, dude, please retire. I hate watching you be like this.
See, and that's the thing. There was a question on Twitter. Somebody asked somebody else, why is there such an obsession about Manning's weakening arm strength or something like that? And the answer was, I don't know. I'm just enjoying watching one of the all-time greats for one more year. But right there, that is why there's such an obsession, because he is one of the all-time greats, and I don't want to watch the all-time great struggle.
It's like Jordan with the Wizards. We didn't need to see that.
I don't like watching Tiger Woods now. Not because I don't wish like all hell that he somehow puts it together and becomes a dominant golfer again. I would love to see that. But it's not happening, and it's painful to watch him struggle, whether he's hurt or not. He's old. You don't put that kind of torque on your back that many times a year over the years without it taking its toll. It's going to catch up eventually. And if it's caught up, fine. Call it quits. You've had a tremendous run. Enjoy it for what it is. But I don't like to see the all-time great struggle for whatever reason. But that's just it.
I'm looking at the Bills' schedule. And I must say, just by looking at their schedule, I think they have a great chance of at least being number 2 behind the Patriots. I mean, they're playing the Giants at home next week. Then they go to Tennessee, a game they can win. Home against Cincinnati, tough game, but a game they can win. On the road at Jacksonville, definitely can win that game. Then they have a bye week. Home against Miami, we know they can kill them. On the road against the Jets, once again, the team they can easily beat. On the road against New England, that'll be a big test, and that's the 23rd, which...
I don't know about easily beat the Jets. I'm just saying.
I think they can. I mean, the fact that you have Rex Ryan, and I still think that their defense is good, but I'm not sold on Ryan Fitzpatrick whatsoever.
Fitzmagic!
Oh, yeah. Then they go on the road to Kansas City. Could be a tough game. Home against Houston. Game they should win. On the road against Philly, depending on how Philly's playing. Could be, should be. I won't say should be, but definitely can win that game. On the road against Washington. Definitely can win that game. Home in December against Dallas. So regardless of Romo's back, the fact that it's going to be in the snow at Buffalo, they can win that. I think that's not going to be a problem. And then they finish the season at home against the Jets. I mean, that's a very friendly schedule for a team trying to make the postseason for the first time. And they're one of the longest. Aren't they now the longest run for a team in professional sports that hasn't made the playoffs?
Yeah, I believe so.
I think so. So I regardless of going to the Super Bowl, I think they're definitely going to be a playoff team for the first time in years.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. They should definitely make the playoffs. I'll go that. Now, to run the gauntlet, I mean, so if the playoffs started today, the Colts would be the division champions somehow in the AFC South. It would be the Patriots, Bengals, Colts, Broncos, and then the Jets, Bills, Steelers, and Raiders would all be fighting for that last spot. So The Raiders.
How bad is that AFC South though?
Oh my God.
It's going to be like what the what was it? The NFC South was last year.
There's just
7-9 Panthers won the division.
It's 4 bad teams just beating up on each other.
That's crazy. And I think Tennessee, out of all those teams, I know the Colts have a lot of talent, but I really like Mariota. I think he has the potential to become a good quarterback in this league. It's just what the rest of the team is going to do around him is the question.
Tennessee scored 89 points. I mean, depending on what the Chiefs do tonight, which I don't think they'll be in the neighborhood, they're the 3rd highest scoring offense in the league.
Yeah. Look at Jacksonville. They've given up 91 points.
And you know what? I was watching that game against the Patriots, and I found myself pulling for the Jaguars. I really want them to break this cycle for whatever reason. I don't know why. I can't explain it. I'm not going to call myself a fan because that's not true. But I found myself really wanting them to, and then you talk about the Jaguars giving up 91 points, and then I scroll down on my screen and I see the Bears have given up 105 in 3 games. Holy crap.
They've only scored 46 and given up 105.
The Packers and the Vikings.
The Niners have scored less points.
The rest of the division has given up 173 points. The other 3 teams combined, we've given up 105.
It's crazy. How bad are the Niners too now, though?
Oh, that's a debacle for.
I remember a few years ago, I was so adamant that I thought not only RG3 but Kaepernick were both overrated and it wasn't going to last. And once again, prognosticator of prognosticators, I have been proven correct.
I tweeted yesterday, remember when RG3 and Colin Kaepernick were leading the evolution of the NFL offense?
I remember that tweet.
Yeah.
And now one is a 3rd-string quarterback and another one can't get out of his own way.
Let me ask you this, and maybe we'll talk about this with Jim Sarantias at the top of the hour. If in the offseason the Bears say goodbye to Jay Cutler and Robert Griffin III is a free agent and there's no quality draft candidates, do you sign him?
I would take Tim Tebow over RG3.
Oh, God. All right. And on that note, we're going to...
No, because RG3, you got to remember what baggage comes with him.
Oh, no, there's tons of baggage. Tons of baggage. I think the baggage is almost as important as anything that he's ever done on the field.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to change sports because we're going to talk football for an entire hour with Jim Sarantias from thefantasygreek.com at the top of the hour, 11 Eastern Time. You're listening to 87 Sports Fans Live on Late Night Sports Radio.
Something shines in your eyes tonight. Maybe there's no need to lie tonight. I see your lips out on fire. Oh baby, I want you to be mine. Catch me, baby, I'm waiting for you. So come on, break the rules. The time is right, the time's tonight. Let it start, and you won't stop. Let it start, and I won't stop. We'll never stop. Let it start, and we won't stop because this night belongs to us. We'll never stop because this night is just for us. We'll never String it up and call it out, approval of some
Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
'87 Sports Fans live on Late Night Sports Radio. 585-633-7487 is the number to call in. Once again, 585-633-7487. Top of the hour, kids. Jim Sarantias from the FantasyGreek.com will be joining us. We'll go through all the Week 3 action in the NFL. Give you our early picks for Week 4. Talk some early fantasy football. I know Steve doesn't want to talk about fantasy football this week.
Oh, not at all. And, the sad part was it's not even like I could have started anyone better. I would have gained maybe a half dozen points if I started some different people. It was just a full team implosion.
It's just one of those weeks. You just throw your hands up. You got nothing.
Yeah. And like I said, I started the week great with a 20-point wide receiver on Thursday, and then I ended with 31 points.
Yeah, I've never had those weeks, just so you know. But
Keith, you've had a few of those weeks. Not to deflate you at all.
You're looking at the guy that benched Steve Smith for Jermaine Kearse.
Dude, Steve Smith had a lot of points too.
He did.
Quite a few. You still won, so it doesn't matter. But
and every time I get sad, I just look at the trophy in my living room. I feel better.
Yeah.
I have to wear sunglasses because of the glare. Anyway, so the name of that song that I played during the rejoin is Tighten Up by the Black Keys. And I picked it for a reason because when I see the title, Tighten Up, it makes me think of Jonathan Papelbon's hands around Bryce Harper's neck. Did you see that?
yeah.
Well, what's your thoughts on the whole situation?
Well, we were talking during break about it, and me personally, obviously it's a team that did not live up to expectations this season. A lot of people picked them going to the World Series, and they were just not. They were a shell of what they were supposed to be, and you look at just frustrations, and you were mentioning that there was a report that Harper was already clearing out his locker, preparing for the off season, and you saw in that play where he hit a pop up, didn't run it out, kind of jogged a little bit, and a guy like Papelbon who had the right intentions, even though the end result was slightly misplaced, just looked like he was ticked off that one of his teammates and one of the leaders on that team, which Harper is, decided to not give 110% effort, knowing that the season was done. And so for me, I think it's silly, but it's just frustrations. It's just a poor season melting down. So I don't really think anyone's at fault. I think both of them did wrong things, but it happens.
Yeah, I look at Bryce Harper, and now the only thing that I think of is that soundbite from before the season where they asked him his reaction to the National signing Max Scherzer, and he said, "Where's my ring?" This is just not even funny. We're so loaded. Yeah, well, now you're not even in the playoffs.
Yeah,
dinkus. So, I don't know. For all of the, there's a part of Bryce Harper that I really want to like or respect. He's in the same division as my Mets, so I don't think I can ever like him. But there's a part of Bryce Harper I want to respect, but there's also a douchey side to the guy.
Yeah,
and
you can kind of see it when Papelbon was jawing at him. He just looked like he was kind of being a schmuck.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to ever say it's okay to put your hands on somebody else, but I kind of I'm on Jonathan Papelbon's side here.
Yeah,
I understand the Nationals pulled Papelbon's jersey from the store afterwards, and now Papelbon's suspended 4 games by the team, and he's still got a 3-game suspension that he's going to face from Major League Baseball for plunking Manny Machado last week. So pretty much his brief stint with the Nationals is probably done.
And you got to wonder if this is potentially it for his career because, as you noted earlier, he is kind of getting up there in years.
Do you know it would be a total troll move? As if the Mets signed him in the offseason to be their 8th inning guy.
I don't know, though.
Oh, my God. It would be
if you're a team like the Mets, who have finally gotten off the schneid, at least enough to make it to the postseason, and them being the division leader at the moment, for them to see something like this fight and think that I would not want to screw anything up.
Oh, dude, this team.
Regardless how the season ends, obviously they're making strides in the right direction.
If he can get the ball to Familia without blowing a lead, we'll take him. And oh my God, every time we play the Nationals, it'll be hilarious every time Harper bats against him. In fact, I would be okay with signing him to a decent money contract just to pitch to Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
But that's just me. I get emotional.
I can tell, Keith.
Just saying. I'm just saying. So, big day in the NBA today as teams had their media days and are getting in the vicinity to begin their training camp. The headline, according to ESPN.com right now, is that Kobe stays the course. No decision on retirement. So, Mitch Kupchak's already said that this is Kobe's last season in a Lakers uniform.
Yeah.
So we just got done talking in the last segment about all-time greats struggling. Do you want to see Kobe Bryant in another uniform?
No, and honestly, it would just be pure arrogance and greed if he went to another team.
Well, he's not getting another big contract.
No, but he would still get something. Like, he would still make, and regardless of what he would make on any team, obviously his endorsements are probably going to be higher now than they are when he retires. He's, there's only one Michael Jordan when it comes to endorsements, and post their playing career. I look at him; he's got the possibility to become the Derek Jeter of the Lakers, which retire, and you will be beloved in that city for the remainder of your life. You won't have to ever lift a finger. You could go to every game. You will be looked at as a god. People will bow to him. If he leaves, though, I think that'll tarnish. I mean, look at Brett Favre. If Favre would have just retired and let Aaron Rodgers take over, he would be the poster child for the Green Bay Packers right now. But because he left and went to the Jets and then went to Minnesota, it tarnished. It's there are a lot. I know a lot of Packer fans, and they even said they look at him different now.
Wow, and with Favre, it wasn't just the fact that he went and played for other teams, including a division rival. It was the way that he just drew the national media attention and dragged his decision out forever. I mean, everybody remember Brad Childress meeting him at the airport in a limo.
No, that's probably. I think Kobe needs to just retire, take all his money, and just live the good life.
Yeah, you know what? It's like, what more do you want? I mean, like,
he has nothing left to prove.
On an upward swing, the Lakers added James Worthy to their coaching staff today.
That is an upward swing.
So I'll take that. In other NBA news, Tristan Thompson and the Cleveland Cavaliers have failed to reach an agreement on a contract, according to Brian Windhorst of ESPN.com. The Cleveland Cavaliers failed to come to contract agreement prior to the team's media day. It now seems likely Thompson will miss the start of practice Tuesday, but the sides are not framing the situation as a holdout at this point. How the hell else do you frame it? He's holding still that he deserves a max deal. I don't get this.
Think he does.
We talked about this last week. He shouldn't get a max deal.
Nope.
And I think the Cavaliers should just do everybody a favor and say, go play for somebody else right now.
Yeah.
You're either with us or you're not.
Really good for the Cavs. I give them a lot of credit because they are obviously looking at this like, listen, you had a few good games, but come on now. I like this. They're the second team so far this year that hasn't backed down to one of their players, and the other one being the Seahawks with Chancellor.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I like that. I appreciate that because Chancellor had a 3-year contract still and was trying to get it, and they're like, "No, dude, you have 3 years left on your contract. Why don't you live up to your contract?" And Tristan Thompson is trying to get a max deal, which is a joke. And I think that's the worst part with Tristan Thompson. I think if he would have, maybe signed a 1-year deal for a lot less money, or not less money, a little more money than he's making now, and played his heart out and did good again, then yeah, next year he probably would have got a max deal. Or if he continued the rest of his current contract and had another great year, he'd probably get a max deal next year. But now by doing this, he could put a huge dent in his career.
Once Kevin Love gets back to 100% full duty, he's a backup power forward.
Yeah.
No one's going to pay max money to a sixth man. I mean, the Oklahoma City Thunder traded what's his name? Harden, because of that.
Yeah.
You can
and
say
that's the thing. And he's expecting to play, which I know in the postseason he played some of the center position. The Cavs still believe in Anderson Varejao. And when he comes back healthy, he's going to be their center because they don't need a center that scores. They just need somebody that can play defense and rebound.
The Cavs, and more importantly, LeBron James believes in Anderson Varejao.
Exactly.
And if you ask me, and I think that LeBron James likes Tristan Thompson as well, and I think that's the only reason the Cavaliers haven't told him to go screw.
I believe it. But I think also LeBron, obviously, because he does have a lot of pull with the team, he feels the same way the Cavs do, because if he wanted him to get his money, they probably would have got at least close enough for him to accept a deal. But I can understand, LeBron's not a dumb person. He might want to try to run things, but I don't think he's an idiot. And he, above all else, would understand that Thompson still hasn't proven anything.
Right. I don't know. I would love to see the Cavaliers just say, you know what, we're done here, and walk out of the room.
And, every time I think about Tristan Thompson, because he is Michael Thompson, the former Lakers' son.
No, he's not.
I thought he was.
Klay Thompson.
Klay Thompson is.
You got your Thompsons mixed up.
I do have my Thompsons. I get my Thompsons mixed up. I can't help it.
Wait a minute. Here we go.
Thank you.
And then you also get the for not having your Thompsons straight.
Sound effects.
Keep your Thompsons straight. The next thing you're gonna do is beg me to play Thompson Twins for a rejoin.
Hold me now.
There it is. And
hold my heart.
well, that seems as good a time as any to go to a break. When we come back, Jim Sarantias, the Fantasy Greek himself from thefantasygreek.com, will come to join us for the NFL Hour. You're listening to 87 Sports Fans live on Late Night SportsRadio.com.
Baby, you're a mystery. Tell me what's a girl gotta do. Looking at the history doesn't seem to give any clue. Just when I think I understand it all, you seem to unravel some more. Ooh, la, la, ooh, I never know nobody like you. Ooh, la, la, ooh, now I know you're not a neighbor. Ooh, la, yeah, you keep me guessing on confessing now, well, baby, it's true. I never know nobody like you. Baby, you're out and able. Baby, you're a riddle. I'm caught up in the middle of you. I'm trying to think bigger, but I can't seem to figure it through. I wanna make it better, but now I'm scared of looking a fool. Oh, baby, no, I've never been very good at playing it cool. Just when I think I understand it all, I find I know nothing at all.
Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
That's right, I did it. It's the Thompson twins on the rejoin. It's 87 Sports Fans Live, kids, and we are in store for the NFL Hour. Joining us now is Jim Sarantias, the Fantasy Greek himself, from thefantasygreek.com. Jim, welcome back to the program.
Happy Monday, guys. Good to be back.
Happy Monday to you, sir.
I apologize for the downer of an intro song for you, but it was the only Thompson twins hit, really.
Yeah.
And you decided to play it?
Well, because the last segment ended with Steve getting his Thompsons mixed up in the NBA.
And so I serenaded the Thompson twins. He thought he would play the real deal just to show me up.
Yeah, and it really didn't. It really fell flat. I apologize. It did. It was terrible. Okay, so hey, week 3 in the NFL is just about in the books. As Green Bay is playing with the Kansas City Chiefs right now, even though, hey, Alex Smith threw a touchdown to a wide receiver. Yay. Daiquiris. Alex Smith to Jeremy Maclin. It's now 31-14, so you're telling me there's a chance. So let's assume Green Bay is going to win this game, which all three of us picked last week. So that would mean that I will have gone 12-4 on the week. And both Jim and Steve, show-offs that they are, will have gone 13-3.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty nice weeks. The only games that I got wrong was, Steve and I picked Tennessee to beat Indianapolis. I'm the only one that picked the Browns to beat the Raiders, and I was almost vindicated. We all picked the Jets. I don't think anybody saw that happening in New York.
No.
And Jim and I picked the Dolphins to beat the Bills. And
But, that's not a surprise. I mean, it happened, and I think the way it happened is awful.
What, the way the Dolphins got crushed?
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that in the first segment a little bit. We didn't go in depth with any kind of analysis. But my take on it is if that's how the Dolphins are going to react to a division rival in Week 3 coming into their house, you might as well fire Joe Philbin right now.
Yeah.
Well, not just a division rival, their biggest rival.
Right? No, I hear you. But they're flat in Week 3. And not for nothing, your rival has one of the biggest loudmouths for a head coach. I mean, how much more angles do you need to be given to have some kind of motivation other than just trying to win the game? You know what I mean? Am I talking crazy? I just think that it's just their effort, their lack of effort and emotion in that game tells me everything you need to know about what's going on behind the scenes with the Miami Dolphins.
Well, I wouldn't put it just at Joe Philbin's feet. I think that's sort of, it is. Ultimately, it is. He's the head coach. He's the fellow that needs to be taking care of this. And if he needs to waltz down the hallway and have a conversation with whatever coordinators that he needs to. But you really got to look at defensive coordinator Kevin Coyle and say, what are you doing, pal?
Yeah.
How is Ndamukong Suh even walking off the field?
No, I mean, how do you have a talent like that and you don't find a way to get him involved?
I mean, they're not pressuring the quarterback. They're not getting sacks. They're we were going to talk about I wanted to talk about the game in our reviews, but here's the thing. Well, we are talking about the reviews right now.
Yeah,
What the heck?
go ahead. We'll start with this one. Go ahead.
Yeah. So in the preseason, this Dolphins offense looked phenomenal. They looked like they were in midseason form. They were hitting all their wide receivers. They had a tremendous running game. And I know they've had some injuries along the offensive line, and that certainly doesn't help. But they are falling so far short of, adjusting and being able to work through their injuries that they're a shell of their former selves. And the same thing with the defense. In the preseason, they were running the defense that I think everyone thought they're going to run during the regular season, not this sort of, they're not even blitzing.
No.
So what are you doing over there?
They're giving up almost 400 yards a game. That's
all.
crazy. You're not going to win.
You're not going to win. And Ndamukong Suh looks like a guy that doesn't care right now. Most of the people on that defense don't look like they care. I forget who it was. It was Charles Clay. He caught that ball up on the side and he danced through like 3 defensive backs. And after the first one missed, I think the next 2 just didn't want to hit him and hurt themselves.
No,
I thought, well, wow, hey, you're playing for the team.
I totally understand that sometimes on certain plays, certain situations, Sue's role is to really take up multiple blockers and make holes for other people. I get that. But he's been on the field for 77 run snaps. He's made 6 tackles.
Yeah, that's completely
out of 77 running plays that he's been on the field for. That's just, what are you paying him for?
right. Exactly. Why did we blow? Was it $83 million, something crazy like that?
And if it's Sue, then somebody needs to say something. But mostly what everybody's saying is that it's not so much Sue the player as it is the scheme that they're running in Miami.
Right. They're not using Sue in the way that he should be used.
And if that's it, then either somebody's got to step in, and it's the general manager's role to get involved with the head coach here. And if they're not going to find a way to get the big money player to earn some of that paycheck, then you need to, I don't know, maybe start firing people.
Yeah. It's just so early. It's week 3. I mean, that's what's so bad about this.
And even worse, because, some of what Sue's strong point was also rushing the passer from the defensive tackle position. He's been on the field for 83 passing snaps, has 5 hurries, no sacks out of 83 snaps.
Yeah, it's just...
Something's got to give.
It's been crazy to hear you say that.
Something has got to give.
Yeah. And, this week it doesn't get any easier going up against a Jets team whose defense is, put to the side this past weekend. But they've got a great defense. That offense can certainly make some noise when it wants to. And, I don't think that'll be an easy game for them.
You know what? I look at last week's or yesterday's game, losing to the Eagles at home, falling behind 24-7 at the half, as kind of a wake-up call for a team that's not used to success. I don't know the stats. I don't know about the average age. I don't want to call them a young team because I'm really not sure that they're all that young. But that group, that unit in green for New York, has not had a tremendous amount of success together. Revis has had success elsewhere. Cromartie has had success elsewhere. I'm just going up and down the starting lineup. Brandon Marshall has had limited success elsewhere. Willie Colon has had success elsewhere. They haven't had success together as a team in New York. And now, they're off 2-0. New head coach, defense is clicking right along, and I think maybe this game, by the end of the season, we'll look back and say this was a big learning experience for this team, because now they know they can't take anybody for granted. The Eagles were as much of a mess as anybody going into this game, and they came out putting up 24 points in the first half, and yeah, they were shut out in the second half, so somebody made a decent adjustment. But if Fitzpatrick doesn't turn the ball over, the Jets may very well turn this into a win. So, playing Miami, they're going to be, I don't want to say hungrier, but they're definitely going to have a chip on their shoulder with something to prove after this game.
Yeah. And not to just talk about all the negatives of this game, how about those Buffalo Bills?
Oh, no. Tip your cap. They did everything they needed to do in this game.
Great way to bounce back defensively. Offensively, Tyrod Taylor really showed what a well-rounded player he is. Carlos Williams, I think we're going to see a bigger role for him, especially it sounds like they're going to sit LaShawn McCoy for at least a week. They've got all the things that a team that has a great defense, has a good offense, doesn't have to be explosive, but can be. But, the way we did the game review on the Fantasy Greek was Rex Ryan doesn't have to sit there and tell his offense to, sort of slow down, run the football because they're winning the game. He could sit there and go play football.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, you just, what a great way to bounce back, after a tough game against the Patriots.
No, I didn't see what the prognosis was on Sammy Watkins.
I have not either. I have not either.
A little disturbing.
I know he was sitting off on the sideline afterward, or towards the end of the game, out of I wouldn't say street clothes. I mean Bill's sideline clothes, sweats, laughing and just talking with the guys. So now that I know doesn't mean that he won't miss a game, but he certainly was in good spirits.
All right, and speaking of injuries, that brings us to the second game that we want to recap, and that was the Pittsburgh Steelers and the St. Louis Rams. And Steve-O, you had some thoughts about this.
Well, it's just I looked at that game and it was kind of I felt really bad for Ben Roethlisberger. I think he was having they did lose that first game to the Patriots, but regardless of that, he's been playing really good football last season, the start of this season, and for him to go out with the knee injury, he's going to be out for Pittsburgh now says multiple weeks. I don't think they've really nailed down a certain amount of time. But I think they made one of the biggest acquisitions this year by getting Michael Vick to have as a backup, because going into the rest of their games, until Roethlisberger comes back, you actually have a quarterback that has had success in the league. I mean, he's been an MVP. He could definitely help them. And you look at Pittsburgh, they've made a lot of improvements. St. Louis, they're not an easy team to beat, especially defensively. Yeah, their offense is not doing great this year. Their running game is non-existent. They're last in the league in passing yards, and Nick Foles is, he's playing decent, but he's not really lighting up the scoreboard. And you look at Pittsburgh, it just seems like they've made a lot of improvements over last season where they were showing deficiencies, especially in the defensive side. And I kind of felt bad for him, not being a Steelers fan, but to see Roethlisberger go down and know what they could have had this season. I just hope that Vic does go in and have success, because that's a team I'd be very interested to see in the postseason.
I think Steve, I didn't expect you to go that way with this game, but how true it is that here's a team that put to the side their defense. Their offense was meant to be one of the top 5 scoring offenses in the league, and that was primarily because of Ben Roethlisberger, not just his weapons or the players he gets to go to, like Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell.
He just got back too, which makes it even
right.
harder.
Oh, it makes absolutely, and it speaks volumes to the fact that quarterbacks are so important in the modern NFL, and if you have a good one, it's best not to let them go. And Ben Roethlisberger is just outstanding.
And you talk about losing key players and Bell just getting back and everything. And Stephen, in the first segment, we were talking about teams that we thought had a legit shot to make the playoffs or the Super Bowl. And we talked about the Steelers, and we said, well, they'll make the playoffs. But then, if you think about the teams in the AFC, yeah, maybe not everybody's a Super Bowl contender, but there are some pretty good teams where if this 4-game stretch where they play home against Baltimore, at the Chargers, home against the Cardinals, and then at the Kansas City Chiefs, if they come out of that somehow losing 3 or 4 of those games, so you're looking at...
In a city that's swarming with vehicles...
And thank you, autoplay ads. 2 or 3 wins by week 7. They may not make the playoffs.
It's going to be a tough stretch, and that's why, knowing their schedule, that's why I'm very adamant about the fact that I think they made one of the best acquisitions by getting Vic. Not that I think he's the savior, and he's got. It reminds me of who was their backup a few years ago? It was backup forever. Why can't I think of his name right now?
Charlie Batch.
Thank you. He is very reminiscent of that, where you have a guy that obviously isn't a starter, but he's he was in that position where he could come in and not lose games for them. And Charlie Batch actually made some big plays for them in some tough matchups. And I think Vic could fit that role. I think it's going to end up coming back to being just a huge, huge move when they picked him up.
Right, and
Which Chicago would have.
if he finds a way to not turn the ball over, because not for nothing, Pittsburgh's defense ain't all that to jump and shout about. So you can't just say, oh, Pittsburgh's defense will just keep the game close. No, there's no guarantee. You know, you look at that schedule that I just rattled off because I had to close because the autoplay ad is gone right now. But the Chargers are on that. Who else was on that?
The Cardinals.
The Cardinals, both of whom have decent passing attacks. And where are the Steelers vulnerable? In the secondary.
But I think the difference is I think you have the right coach and the right weapons. Because, once again, the Steelers offensively, their weapons are, they have arguably the best wide receiver in the league. And a very good running back who, on his first game back after a 2-game suspension, had 62 yards, which is not a lot, but when you're going against St. Louis's defense, which is still very dominant, that's not bad for your first game of the year.
Right.
So, to me, Macklin caught another touchdown. Wow, 2 touchdowns to 2 wide receivers. That's crazy.
Double daiquiris.
Yeah, double daiquiris. I have high hopes for Pittsburgh. I really do. And I don't know if it's that I just want to – I would hate to see them kind of collapse because of the injury to Roethlisberger. I'm going to keep an eye on them. I think they're going to be one of my sleeper teams this year.
I will say, and I know we're going to get to it when we talk about the games coming up in Week 4. If you look at the game that they have against the Ravens, it's not impossible to see that the Steelers can beat them. I mean, it's not without Ben Roethlisberger. If they can establish a good offense through Le'Veon Bell, a healthy dose of D'Angelo Williams, a few short pass plays here and there to Antonio Brown, and just keep things moving. Despite their defense, I mean, it's not like the Ravens' defense is anything to get excited about. But at the same time, I just don't know. I mean, you keep talking about Mike Vick being, this great acquisition in the offseason, and I see nothing but a quarterback that was a bust on the last 2 teams he played on, and really couldn't run their offenses. So I don't know how he can get on this team and run their offense any better than I think the previous backup was Bruce Gronkowski, and who was the young kid that they've had for a couple years. I can't think of his name.
I know. Jeez, this is bad. I thought you were. Damn it. I know who you're talking about, too, but I can't think of it.
Yeah, I can't think of it right now. But so, Steve, I sort of disagree. And I don't think Mike Vick is the savior here.
Well, I'm not necessarily saying he's savior, but I look at – I guess I'm basing a lot of my expectations on what we've seen from backups so far on other teams. I mean, this has been a very poor showing by backup quarterback so far in this season. So to have somebody that has his experience, I think he has a better shot of winning games for them than a lot of other guys that they could have gotten. I'm not saying he's going to come in and win 12 games and, have MVP stats. I just think he could be the right guy in the right place.
He's a veteran. He's been through games.
Exactly.
He's been whether he's been good or not. He's at least been through the rigmarole. The quarterback you're thinking of is Landry Jones, by the way.
Yeah, Landry Jones.
Landry Jones. All right. So the game I want to talk about is the Colts and the Titans. And for a couple of reasons. One, even though it's a loss, I'm really impressed with Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, me too. I agree.
First of all, the cat threw the ball 44 times. You can't expect a rookie to throw the ball 44 times. He completed 27 for 367, 2 TDs, 2 picks. But to me, that's a rookie game right there. That's more than you can expect from a rookie. On the other side, it's not Andrew Luck. Obviously, Andrew Luck didn't all of a sudden forget how to play football. But even though this was a win and they're off the schneid and they're 1-2, if I'm a Colts fan, I'm not feeling all that great about this win. And you look at where they struggled. They struggled in pass coverage on defense. You know, they defended the run pretty well, but what kind of running game does Tennessee really have? Dexter McCluster, the last 2 weeks, has found some kind of life again, if you want to call it that. But, you know, on defense, the Titans were exceptionally bad, making Frank Gore come alive again. But 21 points in the fourth quarter, and you think about how they scored. The Dorsett 35-yard pass that, you know, most people would, that play would be batted down. Dante Moncrief on a jump ball, and then, you know, Frank Gore putted away with a 6-yard rush. If I'm a Colts fan, yes, a win is a win, but this by no stretch of the imagination means that you're out of the woods. Looking at the Colts offensive line, the pass blocking was absolutely atrocious, and for all of the angles and attributes that Frank Gore brought to this team, being a veteran running back who's performed at a high level before, yes, it's great that you could block for him, but Andrew Luck is your moneymaker. He's the guy, and if you can't protect him, it doesn't matter how good he is. It doesn't matter about Andre Johnson or Moncrief or Kobe Fleener or Philip Dorsett. Just, you know, showed up this past week. It doesn't matter who else is out there. If he can't set up and play the game comfortably without fearing for his life, then you've got some big issues here. And my fear, and fear is a rough word to use, is that Chuck Pagano is going to be made the fall guy for this. And it's got nothing to do with anything he's doing. He's been given a bum hand, in my opinion. And I just kind of wanted to see what your guys' take was on all that.
So you say a bum hand, but so you think the fact that they added Frank Gore, Andre Johnson, that's a bum hand?
Well, yeah, because his line is crap. It doesn't matter who else they signed.
Okay.
They can't protect their quarterback.
Okay. So why didn't they address it in the draft?
That's a very good question. It falls on Ryan Grigson, personally, in my opinion.
Yeah. I would tend to agree with you on that point. I know they took Philip Dorsett with that first pick, which was a head scratcher, but at the time they hadn't re-signed T.Y. Hilton, and that again falls on general management not having gotten that deal done. So it would have been easier to just focus in on taking care of business in terms of the offensive line. But I think they've got all the tools. This particular game, what was nice to see about the looks on the faces of Colts players was they looked to have some relief that, yes, we can put points on the board. Yes, we can win a football game. The last 2 weeks were aberrations. We're a better team than all this. Granted, I will give you the Titans played well. The Titans are a good team. I mean, they have their issues, but they have a much better defense than anyone's giving them credit for.
I agree with
Marcus Mariota is outstanding. I know a lot of people have him in fantasy picked him up in fantasy drafts, mostly in keeper leagues. But if he's on waiver wires, he's a guy to add. He's got 8 TDs. I mean, he's, I think, third or fourth most TDs in 3 weeks amongst quarterbacks.
Yeah,
109 rating. I mean, that's crazy for a rookie.
Crazy.
He's putting up points.
And what's interesting, you look at the 3 games. I think the first game they let him throw the ball 20 times. The next game, 30, 35. This past game, I think 44.
Yep.
Granted, it was the style of the game, the flow that probably brought that on. But you've got to be able to look at this and confidently say we have a guy that could put points on the board.
Yeah, we were talked about it in the first segment on the show. The Titans have the 3rd highest scoring offense in the AFC.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Because of all the people, that myself included, that said it'll be a while before Mariota makes an impact, if at all. It just goes to show.
Oh, we were so wrong about that.
Oh my God.
I mean, everybody, and there's a ton of people. I mean, if there's anybody out there that's, oh no, I think he is going to be fine his first year, I'd love to know who that is.
No, and nobody was saying that out loud.
Yeah, nobody was saying that. So it's
poo
amazing.
on you, jerk faces.
Yeah, jerk faces.
Jerk faces.
Jerk faces. That's what I got. That's the best thing I got right now.
Yeah.
All right, so there's week 3 in a nutshell. We already talked about the one game we all got wrong was the Jets, and I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they play against Miami. I don't think you'll see the same effort against Miami.
Miami.
It's Patrick.
I feel so bad for their. Did you see? Maybe you didn't see it today, but I was watching. I don't know if it was ESPN or one of those programs, and they were showing one of the touchdowns the Bills had, and the camera at the stadium panned, and they had to sort of blur this out to fans in the stands, and they were all sitting watching.
Yeah.
And some woman basically with both hands was giving the camera the finger while she was sitting there, and they had to blur that out.
Oh,
That's awesome.
stay classy, Miami.
Stay classy. Well, and you got to feel, I don't know, the Jets defense. I mean, they held Philadelphia scoreless in the second half. And really, the 21 points they gave up in the second quarter, a lot of that was off of the 3 interceptions that what's-his-face Fitzpatrick threw. So their defense did really well that game, but it's just, man, three picks. It's tough to, no matter who you are, it's tough to come back from 3 picks when you're going against a high-powered offense, no matter how much they're struggling.
Yeah. I would agree. All right, well, let's take our very short break, and when we come back, we will go through the Week 4 little previews, early Week 4 previews, and yay, it's the first week with an out-of-the-country game. Yay, Goodell. You're listening to 87 Sports Fans live on LateNightSportsRadio.com.
Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
'87 Sports Fans live. It is the NFL Hour here with Jim Sarantias from the FantasyGreek.com. For all of your up-to-the-minute fantasy football advice, head over to thefantasygreek.com and get yourself a Skybox membership. It is worth every penny of it. It gets you inside, behind the scenes, in-depth, everything you need to win your fantasy football league. That's thefantasygreek.com. All right, we went through last week. Last week is old news already. Forget about the fact that there's still 5 minutes left in the Monday Night Football game. Last week is old news. Here at this show, we're progressive. We're pushing forward. We're already talking about next week. And let's look at the games that we all agree on, and we all are picking the Indianapolis Colts to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Buffalo Bills to beat the New York Giants, the Carolina Panthers over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Eagles over the Redskins, the Falcons over the Texans, the Bengals over the Chiefs, especially after this god-awful outing. The Chargers over the Browns, the Packers to beat the 49ers, and they, based on last week, they should beat them by a lot. Take the over on that, if you can, if it's just on the Packers anyway. The Cardinals over the Rams, the Broncos over the Vikings, and the Seahawks over the Lions. So, what do we disagree on, folks? We just disagree. Well, the Thursday night game, Ravens at the Steelers. Steve and I are both sticking with Pittsburgh at home, and Jim, you're picking the Ravens.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I had mentioned when we were talking about the Steelers-Rams game that I really thought this was a sort of a tough game to break down and figure and pick one team or the other to win this, because you could see the Steelers rallying around the Michael Vick situation. You could see them establishing a run game through Le'Veon Bell, D'Angelo Williams, minimal passing offense. But on the other hand, I'm looking at the Ravens and I'm saying the Steelers don't have much of a defense. They should be able to throw on them. They should be able to run on them. They should be able to do all types of great things, even at home, even when they're rallying around their team. And they still have a defense. I mean, they've got Mike Vick. Mike Vick was a turnover machine the last two stops he's had. So, that was the only reason why I went with the Ravens. And, I mean, I could see it going the other way, but I think there's too many changes, too many things, too many reasons for the Steelers, despite what they may be saying in the media, how they're behind Michael Vick, how they're going to come together with Ben out and salvage their season, which I still think it is salvageable. I just don't know if they can do it this fast.
Yeah. I just am not impressed with Baltimore. In Pittsburgh, these rivalry games, I tend to lean towards the home team. Usually,
but that would be different if they had a steady quarterback. Because I thought about that too. This is just one of those things, man.
If it's Roethlisberger, they would smoke Baltimore.
Smoke them.
Absolutely smoke them.
Yeah.
But I think even
I don't know. I think Joe Flacco's having kind of an up and down year. He's not having the accuracy and he's got 4 picks already, 4 touchdowns, 4 picks. His rating's pretty good. His yardage is pretty good, but the offense itself.
They're another team with offensive line issues. They are the worst-rated pass blocking unit in the NFL.
He has only been sacked twice, though.
Yeah, well, just because he doesn't get sacked doesn't mean that they can't block.
See, and this one was a tough one for me because I want to rally behind Pittsburgh. I thought they're, even with Vic there, with Le'Veon Bell back, there'll be a heavy rushing attack by Pittsburgh, but the one shining grace in Baltimore's defense is they do have the 8th ranked rushing defense right now. So it was tough for me. I haven't seen enough in Baltimore to make me feel like they can go into Pittsburgh even with a backup quarterback and actually win. I think it could definitely be close, but I'm still sticking with Pittsburgh.
All right. The other one of the games that we agree on as well, is Jim and I are picking the Jets to beat the Dolphins. This one over across the pond at 9:30 in the morning Eastern time. And Steve-O, you got faith in the Dolphins for some reason after last week.
It's not as much that I have faith in the Dolphins as much as I've lost a little bit of faith with the Jets. This is one of those games where I think you have two teams. The Jets definitely have, and I just discussed this, have the better defense. I think the Dolphins have to win this game. Their offense has a lot to prove. Their defense has a lot to prove. I know it's overseas, but to me, I think that's what's going to make this that much more important for the Dolphins, because they were completely embarrassed last week against the Bills. And as what Jim was saying before, this is a team that in the preseason looked like they were in midseason form. And I don't know if the beginning of this year has been a fluke, but I think they're going to go into this game with a huge, huge chip on their shoulder. And it's kind of my dark horse pick for the week. You know, it was one of those ones where I looked at it and I said, yes, the Jets defense is great. Once again, I don't have any faith in Ryan Fitzpatrick. I never have. But he's good enough to win this game, but I just think the Dolphins have more to play for.
I don't disagree with you there. In 3 weeks, and I wonder to myself whether, if it's a matter of coaching, they'll fix it. But if it's a matter of the players not believing in the coaches, that might be harder to fix.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, watching that game, I did not see a team that really looked like it gave two craps about winning that game.
Exactly.
And a lot of this stuff, you say you can see on TV, and you really don't know what's going on in the locker room. But you can see when players are ticked and playing with heart, and you just didn't see that. It's almost like they know that scheme's not going to win. So it's like, really, you're going to put us in these positions to play like this, and you could just see it. You just watch the game and you could see it. And like I said, I think the Jets are going to bounce back after last week, big time. All right.
I think so too.
Okay. Raiders at the Bears. I'm the only one picking the Bears, and I'm going to tell you why.
Oh my God! Really?
Yeah, I am.
They traded everyone but the water boy.
Well,
I don't know who you think's going to play.
They traded a defensive end, outside linebacker that couldn't play the position. They also traded an inside linebacker that couldn't make an impact. It makes no difference. The fact that he's not there makes zero difference whatsoever. Neither one of those guys impacts. They get Jeremiah Ratliff back this week, and you know what? They had the Seattle Seahawks have offensive line issues. That is just for certain. That is one of those things that you cannot argue about. They will not have that kind of success because the Raiders do a pretty good job of pass blocking. But when it comes to defending the pass, there are only few teams worse than the Chicago Bears, and one of those is the Oakland Raiders. Yes, I know Rod Woodson had a big interception. Yay for him. He's a Hall of Famer. They're coming home. Pride takes over. I believe Jay Cutler will play this week, not Jimmy freaking Clausen. And I'm picking the Bears to get one win this year. It'll probably be their only win because their schedule after this game goes downhill in a hurry.
Yeah, I think the Raiders' defense is good enough to stifle whoever's playing quarterback for the Bears. And I think Derek Carr is going to shred the defense. I have so much. I'm next to Marcus Mariota. He is my biggest. I jumped on his bandwagon a couple weeks ago. He is playing out of his. You know what? And I think he's just going to shred the Bears. I think the Raiders are actually going to win this. I'd say by 10 points.
I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, but hey.
if the Raiders were going to lose, they should have lost last week to the Browns.
They almost did.
Yeah, but they didn't, and that's the point. And they beat a much better team than the Bears, at least defensively, I think, and even offensively. I mean, Jimmy Clausen. If Clausen gets under center, the game's over. I mean, he couldn't generate over 100 yards of offense. It's just ridiculous. I could see Matt Forte having a big game because of the Raiders' rush defense. But after that, it's kind of like, okay, what are we going to do? Jay Cutler gets in there. The game gets more interesting. And at that point, I think Derek Carr outduels Jay Cutler. Because he's way better quarterback.
Jimmy Clausen was bad. Was very bad. Was very bad. He was. I think in my recap for the FantasyGreek.com, I wrote inept.
That was a good word.
Inept.
I like that word.
7 of 19 for 61 yards or something like that. Oh my God, god awful. But I think that the Raiders are not as good as advertised. I'm just saying. I got a feeling. It's not a rational one, but it's a feeling.
I think you got a rash, all right.
Yeah, but I brought up the Bears' schedule after this game. Let's just remind ourselves of how bad this is going to get.
Yeah, it's going to be ugly.
At the Chiefs, at the Lions, bye week, home against Minnesota, at the Chargers, at the Rams, home against the Broncos, at the Packers, and then they get a reprieve when the 49ers come to town, followed by the Redskins. But that's not till week 13. Yeah, it's going to be bad. It's going to be very, very bad. Very, very bad.
I'm speaking of the Bears. Or wait, do we have another game to cover?
We got one more game. Well, go ahead.
I was so happy to see Jared Allen go.
Oh, my God.
It was like, when they first got him, it was kind of exciting, and you're like, oh, okay, we got this guy. But then you realize he's not giving the full effort. He's at the sunset of his career. He's collecting a paycheck to sort of pad what he's already got off to the side. His time ended when he was with the Vikings.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm so glad they were able to get a draft pick out of him.
Yeah, something, anything.
And with the Panthers seeing him, I don't know. I mean, okay.
That's because Charles Johnson's going to miss time.
Oh, still.
So it's like
I got to think there's somebody out there that can play defensive end in this world and do a pretty good job of it.
I'm just saying, knowing the Bears' luck and watching Julius Pepper's resurgence in Green Bay, it wouldn't surprise me if Jared Allen finishes the year with 12 sacks now. Just saying.
Could happen.
Just saying. It makes no sense. I get it, but it's just one of those things. One of those things. All right, the last game we have to talk about is the Cowboys at the Saints, and Steve is picking the Saints in this game. Luke McCown to the rescue.
This was just a complete. I flipped the coin. I'm not gonna lie.
Did you think it would be a close game, Steve?
Well, no. I look at the Cowboys. They look good for a half, and then the second half they just look really bad. The Saints have looked bad all year, but I just think being at home, prime time, there'll be some kind of magic. To me, both these teams are, I think, in trouble. But I think the Saints, they definitely have the talent. They just have not played football this year. They've been playing some other sport. I don't know what it is. But I don't know. This was just one of those picks where I'm like, I need to get a game on people. Like, I know Jim and I are close, so I went against the grain.
You do realize it's only week 4.
I always seem to tank it at the end of the year, so I got to start building up my wins early.
There's 256 football games in the course of an NFL season.
And so many losses.
and you think you need to start taking chances.
Yep.
I guess
get aggressive early, damn it.
Drew Brees is technically questionable. So
yeah, I heard in Sean Payton said he's optimistic that Drew Brees would play, and just having a really hard time envisioning that. I mean, he's your star, and if you have a choice between having him out 1 week and getting him back, sort of, close to okay and enough to play, or 2 weeks and getting him back like he was before, I would give him 2 weeks off. Get
This,
it right.
the Saints schedule, home against the Cowboys this week, and then they go to Philadelphia, home against Atlanta, to the Colts, home against the Giants, home against the Titans.
Yeah.
None of those games are easy.
Oh, and they're a different team this year, and
You think
I
Sean?
think the Saints, yeah.
You think Sean Payton gets fired?
That's tough.
If they win 5 games this year,
Because I'm starting to run out of the thoughts of this was supposed to at least all their changes. They were not trying to take a step back, but they were not rebuilding, but sort of making some changes, free up some salary cap, make some improvements to the offensive line, protect their greatest asset. We can move on from Jimmy Graham. We've got some other players that should be able to fill that in, and that hasn't happened. C.J. Spiller hasn't come along. I mean, you're kind of looking around going, okay, guys, I mean, maybe Jimmy Graham was the best thing that they had going.
it's kind of scary to think about it because Marcus Colston's star has died. It hasn't just faded; it's died. It's up in smoke.
Brandon Cooks is not. Well, he may be a great fantasy play. I cannot look at him and view him as a number 1 wide receiver on a football team. He's like the 1B to somebody else's 1A.
Right.
And they don't have that. And Brandon Coleman hasn't, he hasn't done anything. Kenny Stills, I thought would be a guy that would have had a good season, except they traded him away. And he's on a team that they're not even really using.
Right. It's completely wasted.
I think they threw one bomb to him or one good pass for a TD that something didn't go right this past weekend, but it was one.
Yeah.
He'd be thriving on the Saints right now.
Yeah, they're definitely a team in transition, and
Their defense sucks.
Yeah, I was gonna say the defense is atrocious.
Awful, just terrible. And they added Jairus Byrd.
Yeah.
It's befuddling. Befuddling.
That's
I don't know. I look at two of the players in this league that I respect the most among pretty much anyone playing right now is Drew Brees and Peyton Manning. And being a sports fan and having the respect I have for both of them, I really hope that they would retire after this year because it's sad to see both of them because even Brees, you could tell he doesn't have that zip on the ball that he used to have, and it looks like that both of them are taking that downward slide. And you got to wonder with Brees, especially with the injuries he's had in the past, and what has he got left in the tank, especially if they are going to be doing like a soft rebuild. I mean, he's going to be 37 this year. He's turning 37 in January, I think.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, it's going to be interesting what this team's going to be like next season. That's for sure.
Once you get,
Oh, sorry.
What's
I
that?
was going to say what's interesting is we know sooner or later Peyton Manning is going to retire. That's coming up real quick. Tom Brady, that's coming up real quick. Drew Brees, that's coming up real quick. And where are these young quarterbacks that we're going to need to step up in their place?
Andrew Luck, Matt Ryan.
No, but even put them to the side. I mean, we've got several teams out there that don't. Well, the Browns for sure. I would argue the Bears.
Yeah.
I mean, we could throw a few teams up there and say, well, the Titans have somebody now. The Buccaneers have somebody that they can develop.
Yeah.
Raiders finally have somebody they can develop. Who else are we talking about here?
And even if you throw in the Cardinals, as far as how much longer does
Carson Palmer have? Yeah.
Palmer have? He's getting up there.
And I think the Chiefs, Alex Smith. I look at that and I go, oh my God.
Yeah, they're going to have to make a decision about what they're doing there.
You cannot run the kind of offense they've been running and not be able to throw the football to your wide receivers. I mean, if they don't throw a touchdown every week or every other week, I mean, that's just terrible.
Well, I'm looking down, and your question,
especially in a league that the rules favor this.
right? Your question is your question is taking my mind on a tangent because that's what I do best. But like out of all the teams in the NFL, And I think this is the conundrum as to why the Bears threw all that money at Jay Cutler. Yes, I know Phil Emery's an idiot and should never have done it. I get it. But who else really is there out there? I'm looking at this.
True.
I'm looking at the teams, and I'm trying to think to myself, out of all these teams, how many teams say, I've got my guy at quarterback, I don't need to look at anybody else? All right? The Ravens, is it because Flacco signed that big deal? Because I don't think Flacco's played up to that deal since he signed it. The Falcons have Matt Ryan. He's too young to give up on. But like, if somebody better came along, would you do it if you're the Falcons GM? If you had a shot?
I love Matt Ryan. I think he's the perfect
Yeah,
quarterback for that offense.
Yeah.
I think it's their defense that needs now, because after the running game they had last week, I mean,
Yeah, Devontae Freeman blew up.
nobody expected Devonta Freeman to get 30 rushes.
All right, so let's
30 rushes, 5 receptions. Holy cow.
let's go in alphabetical order. Okay, the Cardinals, Carson Palmer's old, so you're looking for a quarterback. The Falcons aren't. That's 1. The Ravens aren't. That's 2. The Bills, Tyrod Taylor's having a nice start to the year. Is he the long-term solution? I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence on that one. Carolina's got Cam Newton. He's their guy. The Bears will be in the market for a quarterback. The Bengals have Andy Dalton. He's their guy. The Browns are a mess. The Cowboys, Romo's getting older, and he's injured again. So
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he retires in the next year or two. I mean, 2 broken collarbones in 4 years span. That's, for somebody that's had his back issues and now this. I mean,
it's going to be.
You gotta wonder how much he's got left.
Be interesting to see what he comes back at. The Broncos, Peyton Manning's at the end. The Lions, Matthew Stafford. Do you think you could find an upgrade for Matthew Stafford?
I think the problem with them is strictly their offense that they're running.
Yeah, but I mean, even Stafford, he's got talent, but the numbers that he puts up isn't anything to blow your hair back anymore. But he's better than 9/10 of the guys out there.
Yeah.
Green Bay Packers have Aaron Rodgers. There's 5. Houston Texans are a mess. The Colts have Andrew Luck. There's 6. The Jaguars have Blake Bortles. He's their guy for the next few years, just because. The Chiefs we already talked about. The Dolphins, Ryan Tannehill. Well, he's their guy, but he's kind of hasn't played all that well this year. The Vikings have Bridgewater. There's 9. The Giants have Eli. He's getting up there in age. And for whatever lightning rod he has. The Jets don't have a long-term solution at quarterback. The Patriots have Brady, but he's getting older. The Saints, Drew Brees, getting older. The Raiders have Derek Carr. The Eagles, I don't think they're set on their quarterback. The Steelers have Roethlisberger for another 5-6 years probably. At least. There's 11. The Chargers have Philip Rivers, 12. The 49ers are in dire straits. The Seahawks have Russell Wilson. There's 13. So the Rams...
Oh, that's what... Sorry, you mentioned the 49ers. Let's come back to that when you're done.
All right. The Rams have Nick Foles. Yeah, he's the guy for right now, but he hasn't shown anything. The Buccaneers have Winston. There's 14. The Titans have Mariota. There's 15. The Redskins are a mess. So half the league isn't set at the quarterback position. And there can only be one team at that number 1 slot to get a guaranteed bona fide producer. Aaron Rodgers is the exception. So you get stuck in this quicksand where you're willing to take a quarterback with warts like Stafford, like Cutler, at least what his mess is. Because the Andrew Lucks aren't coming around that corner every day. The Peyton Mannings aren't coming around that corner every day. But you want to go back to the 49ers, Jim?
Yeah, that was my second choice of a game to talk about, Cardinals versus 49ers. And, Colin Kaepernick comes out, and in his first 10 passes, 4 of them are interceptions. And I would want to say, like, his first 2 were returned for a touchdown. I mean, his first few passes, 2 of them were picked on their side of the field and run in. And I remember when they went to the Super Bowl with Colin Kaepernick. And Colin Kaepernick flashed, being a big-time quarterback, able to throw the football downfield, connect with his guys. And it is so amazing to see how that the 49ers organization has ruined him. Absolutely ruined him. Jim Harbaugh, the current coaching staff, I mean, somehow, some way, they have lost the talent that this young guy brought to the table, and they're not using it. And because I think he's a better quarterback than what we saw this past week. And I feel bad for the guy.
See, I don't know. I mean, he's shown flashes, but for whatever reason, he just can't ever seem to put it together on the same day.
Well, but he did. He did when he first started being the starter.
Absolutely. I mean, you remember 2 seasons ago when they opened against Green Bay, he had like 400 some odd yards and like 4 touchdowns.
Here, I'm gonna pull up his stat sheet while we're talking about him. But you know, his passes were underthrown. I mean, they were poor passes. One was underthrown to Anquan Bolden, and he was sort of stuck in his feet. He couldn't get there as the cornerback jumped the route, and it was totally on his shoulders. But it kind of made me think, why did you do that? Maybe it was pressure. I don't know. His head's not in the game, but then that bothers me. Why is his head not in the game?
Yeah, that's you don't want that to be the answer.
Right.
You don't want that to be the reason.
Exactly. So let's see. I think it was 2012, as I recall.
This is fascinating radio right now.
No. But I mean, don't you feel? Well, I know you don't, Steve. You seem to agree with me a little bit. So, for example, in the playoffs in 2012, his first game against the Packers, 17 for 31 for 263 and 2 TDs. Next game against Atlanta, 16 for 21, 233, 1 TD. But then, against the Packers, he also ran for 181 yards and 2 TDs. Then in Baltimore in the Super Bowl itself, 16 for 28, 302 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception, 62 yards running plus 1 rushing TD. I mean, these are the kinds of stats I think we all were hoping we'd see going forward.
You're looking at 2013 or 2012 when he was
12.
When he ascended to lofty heights.
Very lofty heights.
Well, I mean, he completed 62% of his passes that year, but then you look at next year, he dips to 58.
Yeah. Again, my earlier comment, somehow this young talent has been ruined. I mean, this is not Colin Kaepernick is a much better quarterback than this. He has to be.
I don't know about has to be.
I think he has to because of these kinds of numbers. No average quarterback, no backup quarterback has this kind of game. The only backup quarterback that I know of that has had these kinds of games was Josh McCown when he was running the Mark Trestman offense here in Chicago. Otherwise, I've never seen a backup quarterback put up these kinds of numbers.
Well, the backup quarterback also has an advantage, though, that the defense doesn't prepare for them. And Kaepernick has a unique skill set. You know, if you're preparing all week for Alex Smith, and all of a sudden you're facing Colin Kaepernick, the Niners have a decided advantage.
Well, wait a minute, but he was the starter. Let's see. He became the starter in Week 11 of that season.
Yeah.
So they got to see him. In Week 11, he had 243 passing yards, 2 TDs, 10 rushing yards. The following week, 231 passing yards, 1 TD, 1 interception, 27 rushing yards, 1 TD. So, I mean, there was several weeks people could prepare for Colin Kaepernick, and yet he put forth these kinds of games and this kind of production. And you look the following year, and where did it all go?
Well, it goes back to my earlier comment about Tyrod Taylor. Sometimes the tape catches up to you.
But I think the one thing with Tyrod Taylor is he's more of a pocket quarterback than Kaepernick was. When he started his career, he was more of the Russell Wilson type of...
I'm not trying to compare the styles of quarterback. I'm just saying as new guys on the scene, the tape will catch up with you. And not so much Taylor, but the Bills' offense. So defenses will learn their tendencies, and it's up to him to take the next step. And once that happens, then, we could pat him on the back. Because Kaepernick is the perfect story to illustrate my point. He hasn't made that evolution. defenses know how to play him and the San Francisco offense, and now he's on his second head coach. So,
well, the one thing I could hopefully differentiate between the two of them, and I'm going to use Kaepernick as an example on this as a young quarterback, is early on, if you watch just not only how they play, but if you watch their post-game interviews, Kaepernick right from like in the late 2012, 2013 season, you could tell he was getting very, I wouldn't say arrogant, but he was wearing headphones and hat on backwards. He was acting very aloof in all of his press conferences. To where Tyrod Taylor, he just seems like a more well-rounded young man. You know what I mean? He's a guy that seems like he's more focused than maybe Kaepernick was. And you could blame the fact that Kaepernick had such early success. A lot of times that will go to your head.
Tyrod Taylor's been in the league for a couple years too.
What's that?
Tyrod Taylor's been in the league for a couple years too. He backed up Joe Flacco.
Yeah, but it's this is his first real taste of the spotlight. You know what I mean? Once you get the spotlight, it's how you react to it.
Yeah, true. He's definitely doing better than LaShawn McCoy trying to hold his little party there for only the pretty girls.
Yeah.
So.
You can do that when you're LaShawn McCoy.
Theoretically.
I heard an interesting take on what was it? Oh, on the Lions. Do you mind if we move on and talk about, because the Lions, they've got some issues with Matt Stafford and company,
Yes.
and I personally don't like the play calling. I think they've, what's his name did a great job on Calvin Johnson. What is his name? Yeah, the Denver Broncos defensive cornerback.
Which one?
Talib?
Chris,
No, not Talib.
Chris Harris, Talib?
Talib.
It was explosive, yeah.
Was fantastic. But I thought that the Lions gave up on that, because the previous two games, I mean, he's been heavily targeted, but they're not working him in like other, like they have in the past. And I heard an interesting take on it from one of the analysts for ESPN, and he said, the offensive coordinator, I think it's Joe Lombardi, who's actually the grandson of the great Vince Lombardi, is sticking with his playbook and not sort of veering from it and get into the let's just chuck the football down the field to Calvin Johnson. He'll jump up for it, catch it, and score. That they want their offensive line. Like if you change into that form and get away from your regular plays, your offensive line starts forgetting what they're supposed to be doing, and starts forgetting how what the defenses will run against them on some of these various different plays, and that's why they're going to stick with this playbook. And despite what we might perceive as poor play calling, they're just sticking with it. And I thought that was a very interesting thing, and I was wondering what you guys thought about that. Did that make sense, what I said?
Ask the question again.
Sure.
But
I thought it was interesting what he pointed out was going on over there. Where my perception is, well, at the end of the day, you're losing. You need to get points in the end zone.
right.
And by hook or by crook, it doesn't matter. I mean, if the play is, look, everybody block, I'm throwing it to Calvin, then that's the play. Because we need to win this game. This is the NFL.
Okay, right.
And this analyst was saying that they're trying to be a little bit more patient and, not do that because it screws up the offensive line and their views of the protections that they need to be putting on. And I wanted to get what your take was on that. I found that interesting. But what's your take? Because mine is still, at some point, you got to win games. And right now, they're 0-3.
Yeah.
Well, you look at what Denver's done, and Gary Kubiak tried to put Peyton Manning under center because that's what he wants to do. And then about midway through week 2, I guess, from all reports, he just looked at Peyton and said, "Do what you do best. Let's go win the game." So that attitude, I think you can have all of the plans in the world, but when things aren't working, you need to adjust. And when you've got talent on your roster, it's one thing if you're rebuilding a franchise and you like Jacksonville, where you don't have a whole lot of talent. You've got up-and-coming talent. You've got promise. You've got rookies, but you don't really have anybody with demonstrated success. then maybe you stick to the plan a little bit longer. But when you're on a team like Denver, like Detroit, and you've got talent around you, and when your plan isn't working, you have to have the humility as a coach to say, just do what you do best. Let's adjust this, adjust that, because I know you can be successful doing this. So let's go win this game. Because at the end of the day, if you don't win the game, you're out of a job eventually.
No, I agree. And I agree with what Jim was saying. You got a guy, you have one of the best receivers, if not the best in the league, and on average, he's 3 to 4 inches taller than anyone defending him. It just gets to a point where you're just like, I'm just going to throw it up. We've got.
Yeah, and I'm poorly describing. I'm making it sound like this is, playing in the sandlot or the park, which sometimes I suppose it should be. But I mean, even I don't know how the Lions can't see this. And I don't another example, and let's stick with the Lions. Joique Bell should not be the starter. Amir Abdullah should be.
Yeah, it's not even
I don't
funny.
know how much more proof they need to know that the most talented running back, the guy that will get them the yards and potentially score twice a game for them, is Amir Abdullah.
You just watch the way Abdullah runs, and you watch the lack of explosivity and elusivity on Joique Bell.
Explosivity.
Yes, I may have made that word up, but screw you for judging me.
I'm going to use that every day.
Explosivity all over your face.
Ooh. Don't say that.
No, that was...
Man,
that was weird. I know you're tired and all, but I mean...
I am.
We're just friends, buddy.
Are you?
Well...
I'm laughing because you don't see what I'm trying to do, and it's not working here. But
No, I really don't see what you're trying to do, Keith.
I'm trying to find a bear. I'm trying to find Barry White on my playlist here, and it's not working. Anywho, to summarize my point, there's no reason that Amir Abdullah shouldn't be the starter, and Joique Bell should be put out to pasture. Yeah, even Theo Riddick looked better than him, and that's not saying much, though.
No, Theo did. I mean, but Theo was playing the passing down running back, and he was effective. I mean, he doesn't have to be. He doesn't have to be Reggie Bush. He just needs to be effective. And I don't know. I heard what the analyst said. I found it very interesting. I understood what he meant, but at the same time, I'm like, guys, they're 0-3.
Yeah,
and they're not putting enough points on the board to beat their opponents.
You and your principal. I'm sorry.
What's that?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And sooner or later, that's just what you've got to do.
Yeah, you and your principals can go stand on the unemployment line.
Right.
Keep each other warm. So.
Well, there's no real unemployment line in the NFL with the kind of money they're making.
It's a figure of speech, Jim. It's a figure of speech.
I know, but I'm just saying.
And with that, we are out of time on this week's episode of 87 Sports Fans Live. Thank you to Jim Sarantias from thefantasygroup.com for joining us. For Steve Taylor, I'm Keith Grieve from 87sportsfans.com. We're here every Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Head to latenightsportsradio.com or get your butt on the Spreaker app, available for all platforms. Every Monday night, kids. Have a good week.
Post-game show is brought to you by Christ, I can't find it. The hell with it.